Hi everyone, I'm Josh. Welcome back to my channel. I know it's been a while, and I'll be honest, I don't even know if I want to be here. I know I want to talk about books, and I know I want to do things that will encourage me to read or get me more excited to read. So I decided to take a shot in the dark and try this one more time. To talk about a book, one of the few books I've read lately that I really loved. A book that I didn't just love, that I want to talk about, but a book that made me think about what it is that makes a book excel to each of us. Like, what is it about a book that makes it resonate on a way that doesn't for any other book? Is it just other objective qualities, or is there something about each book that we read and how its relationship to us on a personal level? I think it's obviously the latter. That's the whole premise of this video. And I want to talk about that in the context of this book that I really loved, Monstrilio. This is a horror literary novel, and I'm going to avoid, to the best of my ability, hard spoilers in this book, plot spoilers, but to discuss the themes and how that resonates with me and why I think this book worked so well for me, aside from the fact that it's just well written. I had to talk about the themes. I have to think about some of the things that go into the story. To do that, I have to set up a bit. So if you're worried about that, you just want to know it's a horror book. A family, two parents lose their young son, and they have to deal with the loss. That is the broadest description I can give. From there, we have to get into details, and you get more and more details as far as what to expect from the book, if not hard spoilers. If that bothers you, read the book first, then come back. If you just want to hear my thoughts, just to know that it's going in. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the conversation. Okay, like I said, Monstrilio is a book about two parents who lose their young son. I can't remember exactly his age, between 3 and 6 years old. He dies of some kind of lung condition, I think, and it is effectively a story of loss, naturally, and how they cope with that loss. In particular, it is following the series of events that occurs after his death and how the parents, it's actually multiple things. When I say it's following, it's important to note that it's like there are stages of this book. There are literally different perspectives. You start with the mother and the father, or maybe it's the mother, a friend, the father, and eventually a creature. This is a creature feature. And the best way to describe this is that to deal with the loss, the parents go about it two different ways. The husband is trying to cope the best way he can, while the mother doesn't want to let go, and to the extent that she will mutilate the memory of their son just to try and hold on to some warped idea of him to any way that she can. And when I say mutilate the memory, I mean this figuratively and literally. To, I guess, keep getting into some of the setup here, is she is taking a piece of his flesh and begins to feed it. Think Frankenstein, think Hellraiser-esque, honestly. You have this sort of thing that begins to grow from this piece of her son. And as it grows, things begin to escalate. But it's this interesting setup, this interesting exploration of grief, how parents deal with it from different ways. But as it goes on, you're getting this sort of this perspective, this new thing that is related to, connected to this child they had rather, and the way in which they reckon with it, the way in which the connection they have with it, that is to say, is distinctly different. We have this mother who wants to believe this is her son when it is not. It is something else. And you have this father who, in spite of not being their son, in spite of not even being human, loves it for what it is. It's still, in a way, a child of his, even if it's not his son. And in that way, you have this sort of idea of loss, how we deal with loss, how we sort of, again, what we do to move on and to appreciate what we have versus what we wish we had, and how we're willing to hurt those around us versus accept them for who they are. There's like this idea of identity and acceptance that's sort of in there in the parents and how they connect with this creature. But then there's some bigger ideas here. In the terms of like good and evil, like what is a monster? Why is something a monster? Is something a monster just for how it instinctually feels? And sort of to set this up, I guess, is in addition to like the mother, the father, these are different perspectives we get. To begin with, like these are like steps. We start with one perspective being the mother, and then we eventually transition to different ones. We don't go back to what we had before. Each of them is a different phase in this process. And the final one is the creature's perspective after it has developed more and more. And so it's like this multifaceted book of loss, acceptance, family, identity, and and trying to reckon with internal feelings of like, will it be like a connection you have to something that is harmful to others, but also how that creature itself might feel. And on so many ways, like this, just in my opinion, it's just a deep book in terms of what it explores thematically, and emotionally, and to get this sort of perspective as we just look at this whole process of loss to growth and reckoning with whatever this is just I think really a really exciting book, and but to sort of a really exciting idea and setup and execution all around. But why is it that it sticks out to me? What is it about this idea of identity and family and good and evil? Because I mentioned Frankenstein as like a comp here, even Hellraiser. These are all sort of horror things that Hellraiser specifically, I think, that really resonate with me as far as what I love. But for me, I'm reminded of Beowulf. I never read Beowulf, but in high school I have a distinct memory of at least reading passages of it, and specifically the modern retelling of it, or a new approach to it, which was, I think, Grendel, which was either from his perspective and or his mother's perspective. And I remember this because this was a period of my life where I was transitioning from being a young earth creationist to a atheist, basically an atheist. But at this point in time, I was still Christian, and reckoning with this idea of good and evil, this idea of believing something is, if it's evil, it just doesn't deserve to exist. Needs to be eradicated, and this idea of good and evil not being as black and white as I was raised to believe it is, to this idea of this creature just doing what it instinctually was like born to do. Like, is it evil? Does it deserve to die because of that? And like, what is its place in society or in the world? Does it deserve a place at all? Like, when I think about that, and superimposed, or rather naturally attached to this larger narrative of loss, family, and identity, the idea of accepting someone for who they are, not your idea of what you wish they were. This just works so well. This is turning out to be a much quicker conversation than I thought, but I will say I'm very much enjoying it. I hope you're enjoying watching it. I didn't plan this out. I wanted to, but I knew I probably would give up if I tried to put too much energy into this video. But big picture, this is a book about loss and how we deal with that loss, and the way in which we can, I guess, hold on to a memory of something and to cherish it without changing it into something entirely different. And in the process, really, I think, tarnishing the memory that we have of these precious moments we have with those in the past, of those that we might lose and might have lost, and figuring out how we can hold on to that love and that appreciation and use it as a way to stimulate new bonds, new connections, a way that will allow them to live on in a way that honors them rather than erases them or changes them, and simultaneously makes those that we're supposed to care about now less important, or basically demeaning them. And to me, that's such a beautiful, beautiful narrative. And just the way it fits into this larger conversation and my personal history dealing with, I guess, identity, acceptance as a queer person, an atheist, and a young earth creationist family, at least growing up. All, like I said, dealing with good and evil, this personal conflict that, again, was something I dealt with at a very integral part of my life. I think it's really easy to understand why this book would work for me. And so when we think about what it is about a book that makes it great, I mean, there's some objective qualities here that I think make it objectively great. Then I think about all the beats it hits and how it resonates with me, with personal experiences that I have. And that's why it works. That's why I think any good book works, aside from just being competently made. A book that really sticks with you needs to have a personal relationship to you, your feelings, your history, your life. And that is the big picture, I think, that I take away from this book. Aside from just having a book that I love, that I finally have a chance or willingness or desire to talk about, to come here and share with you. And so I hope you give this book a shot if you haven't. I know I gave some of the spots away, but with any good story, it's not about the plot, which I still, like I said, I haven't given away too much. It's about the execution, and that execution is there. And personally, I kind of wish I knew some of the beats coming in here, just so I knew what to expect. Because it's one of those things where sometimes my preconceived notions of what a book is can make it less than, because I expected it to be something else. I'm disappointed it's not whatever gimmick I wish it was. I don't think there's anything to be taken away from this. There's so much left to this narrative that I haven't told you, and I really hope you give it a shot. I'm so excited I read this. Props to, I think it was Books on Law, who I heard talk about this book, and I just figured I'd give it a shot. I've not been reading a lot at all, and this book, I'm pretty sure, took me a couple months to get through. But you know what? It's satisfying to have a book this year that I could say that I at least loved. I may not be reading much, but at least what I've read among that is something to love. And that's what matters when it comes to reading. Will I be back? Maybe. I don't know. I'd still love to give you an update on my best books of last year where, I don't know, things have been rough for numerous reasons, but I don't want to get into the personal. It's just been hard to want to read and by extension to want to make this content. Do I like this? Do I want to do this? I don't know. But if you enjoyed it, let me know, please. Encourage me if you want to hear more from me or not. Hell, give me a thumbs down if you want me to shut the fuck up. Thank you so much for your time. Hope you have a great day. Hope you've enjoyed the video, and let me know if you've read or will read this book, if nothing else. Thank you so much. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time. If there is next time, I guess.